Hey guys, welcome back to Rocket Gyan, my fellow space tubers, and today we are back again to witness the Firefly launch of their Alpha rocket carrying certain payloads to space. And if they are successful this time, well, they will come into the category of elite spacefaring companies. So, welcome all to this live stream. Hi Wildflower, hi Monkey Bay, Cable Blue Ziffy, and I welcome you all. I hope this time we don't have a scrub, although right now the things are not looking good. It's kind of a weather issue out there. They are determining the new T0, so it will take some time. Not sure whether they'll go for the opening of the launch window, because they are now reassessing their capability, their time, I should say. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, right now, yesterday they attempted the flight, but okay. So talking about yesterday, let me just clarify that I was on air, and then since they shifted their time to a later date, like later time, 7 p.m. I guess, or was it 7 p.m? Yep, 7 p.m. Pacific, I guess. So I had an office, so I just slept through at that point of time. But I had an alarm and to wake up like in half an hour below the scheduled launch time. So I did that. I went there, sleep for like 1.5 hours, and then came back. But then when I came back, I got to know that the stream has ended from the official end. So after that I checked, and then I got to know the launch attempt was scrubbed due to some helium pressure loss in the gas tank. So this helium is very crucial, because this helium is responsible for pressurizing those tanks, right? And we all know how tank pressure is needed, because this thing is like, very crucial, because if the helium is not there, it will be a vacuum created there, and a negative pressure where can cause the tank to explode. And we don't want that, not explode but crush, and maybe explode also in certain cases, but right now crush. And also vacuum will cause the fuel to not go properly to the turbines and turbo pumps, and that can cause some certain issues as well. So yep, there you go. Yes, Blue Ziffy, this is Priyanshu Roila, your host right now here, and we will today witness the launch. So before that, we need to understand what this launch is all about. So let's have a look at that. So first of all, if you are hearing this Firefly company for the first time, so this is Firefly Aerospace, and they have this heritage, or you can say legacy, from SpaceX. Because many of the ex-SpaceX engineers work here. Tom Mueller, very famous rocket scientist, rocket engineer, who helped develop the Falcon 9 engine, Falcon 9 engines is working here for this Reaver engine development. And this was the launch of the Alpha rocket when it launched previously in 2021, although it was not good. And you can see this green flash also, which indicates a certain fuel type which it uses. So yeah, there's that. And they also have this SUV, which we have in cars, a space utility vehicle. That's the full format, but it's not an SUV which we have in cars, but kind of a space tug which has its own communication propulsion system. And then we have the Blue Ghost, also a lunar lander from Firefly Aerospace. So they are not only into launch services, and yes, this was their first launch attempt, but also providing in-space services like this SUV and Blue Ghost. So yes, that's what we have for Firefly. Now let's have a look at the rocket itself. Yep, Tom, I am so much excited, I can't right now. So yeah, the rocket, talking about the rocket, so this is the rocket. We have the payload capacity of 1.1 tons to low earth orbit of around 200 kilometers. So this, if you can see this payload capacity, it's the highest in comparison to its rival, which rival of the small set launchers, which have around 300 to 500 kilograms to low earth orbit. So it has the highest, almost the double. So This kind of comes into the medium lift launch category, but still it's in small sat, because I think the medium lift starts after 1.5 tons. So but I'm still putting it to medium lift, because for in my dictionary 500 to 750 kilograms it's small sat, but this is definitely um, a medium lift kind of a launch vehicle. So, and that is the reason why they can afford this beautiful painting, the paint job on the rocket, all black, carbon black finish, as well as those designing the phoenix here looks amazing when it lifts off, you know, the lava, the phoenix rising up from the lava. So yeah, there's that. So talking about, let's have the aesthetics aside right now. Let's talk about the technical things about this rocket. So this rocket is powered by 4 Reaver engines in the first stage, and produces 745 kilograms of 736 kilonewtons of thrust. And then when it is powered by these, the second stage is powered by the lightning engine. So if I can show you a proper view of this rocket, let me, yeah, so here you go. If I show you, so this is the rocket which you can see in front of. This has the 4 Reaver engines which I just showed you. So 4 Reaver engines with yep, there you go. So the 4 Reaver engines here works in conjunction to make sure this rocket flies. And one unique thing about these 4 Reaver engines is that they have only one gimbal axis. So all of them have a gimbal and on in one axis only, and all 4 of them are work in conjunction to provide a proper gimbal to the rocket. So these 4 Reaver engines runs on RP1 and locks fuel. And yep, the power cycle is tap off cycle, which we will also discuss. Talking about the second stage engine, so this is a second stage engine which you can see. Again, this is a lightning engine, produces around 70 kilonewtons of thrust. Again powered by tap off cycle, same fuel, RP1 and LOX. But one thing which you need to see is that the exhaust which is coming out of the engine is again fed into the nozzle system to cool those nozzle down, so yeah, there you go. And then obviously the fairing and the rocket. So yep, this is how the rocket looks like. Hopefully that clears up the thing which you had about the rocket. Now let's have a look at more technical things here. So talking about the so talking about certain things which you can see, the fuel tank here, the oxygen tank is here, and again some dimensions are mentioned here. So this is the payload adapter which you can see, propulsion system, avionics, and everything else is here. Moving on to the next part, which is let's discuss about the tap off cycle. But before that, let's have a look at the scale of the rocket. So let me give you the height, which is around 30 meters in height. If we compare the scale, so this is in comparison to human. So a human is here, and this rocket is huge, humongous in comparison to human. But you can also have a look at the teeny rocket, the Electron rocket. It's almost double the size of the Electron rocket, and double the size, and also I think double the width also. So it is actually also carrying double the payload weight also. So kind of makes sense. But yeah, so this is how the scale looks like. So let's have a look at the tap off cycles. So the tap off cycle, it's very similar to gas generator cycle. So first of all, this is an open cycle engine. This is a schema of kind of how it works. And the difference between gas generator and this one is that there is no gas generator here. In tap off cycle, there is no gas generator, which means there is no pre-burner here. So in pre-burner, we most of the time feed like fuel-rich engine exhaust so that it can remain cool, and those burner can combust some of the fuel and the oxygen to feed it into this turbine. But that is not the case here. So it directly feeds the gases from the combustion chamber to the turbine to make sure the turbine rotates, and that turbine helps the rotation of those turbo pumps. But the thing is that turbine has some constraint on its temperature, and it needs to be cooler than the gases which has in combustion chamber. So there might be some plumbing, some cooling system, radiation, maybe some of the liquid oxygen running through the pipes, the feed lines of this combustion from this combustion chamber, so that those gases can kind of cool down, so that it can run. But again, those gases once used up is then thrown out, so it is kind of an open cycle engine. The difference I just told you, no gas generator here. So now this is how the engine looks like. This is the Reaver engine, and this is the turbine which you can see the exhaust coming out of it. It's a tap off cycle, very simple, because there is no gas generator cycle, so it's very simple. Just you can see that this is the combustion chamber, feed line coming in from the combustion chamber to the turbine, and this turbine is connected to these two turbo pumps of the oxygen and fuel. So there is that, and then the exhaust. So there we have that. Okay, all right, now moving the next part. So this is the 4-engine configuration, which you can see. The 4-engine also looks amazing to see. When they are both clustered together, we can also have a look at more of the plumbing. So it was a very simple design, but yes, there we have all the plumbings, those actuators, gases, engine kind of oil kind of a thing, which makes sure those gimbals and everything works perfectly. And yeah, this is how the cluster looks like. Now let's move on the payloads which we have here. Just a sec. Okay. Yeah, so the first payload which we have is from Teachers in Space, Serenity. So this is known as Serenity, and this particular payload is very kind of unique in as per se, because this payload does not have much significance into the science factor, because it is carrying normal those radiation, pressure, temperature sensor. But the thing is, this satellite is more into student outreach. So the teachers have developed this, and teachers are kind of the PR for this satellite, so that the students can get involved in space sector and be aware about what is actually happening in space, what we have in space, and how the things actually work in space. So there you have it, teachers in space. Amazing work. So yep, there you go, the Teachers in Space, as the name suggests itself. Now moving on to the next one. Oopsie. So the next one is a thing which I am very excited about, is from NASA Tech EdSat 15, or you can say TESS 15. So this particular is very unique because it actually helps, this one actually will help to save the CubeSat from re-entry effects. So right now, once the satellite life is over, if the CubeSat does not have any propulsion system, it stays in space until and unless the natural decay happens. But with this tech which they are testing, what they'll be able to do is this CubeSat will deploy certain kind of a sail, not exactly a sail, but a sail, and this is how it looks like, which you can see in front of you. So this sail will help in degradation of the orbit much faster, as well as will also it is all total, control surfaces are there, and total proper actuators, everything is there, so that we can control how the CubeSat enters the atmosphere. And once it is entered the atmosphere, it protects the CubeSat from burning up, and then finally it lands on the Earth. So it's kind of will be, the applications are very unique and very interesting. The sample return missions, we can have this technology in sample return mission. In Mars mission also we can have this technology. Basically, if you need to send something from space, you don't need a Crew Dragon or maybe a Soyuz capsule or a Chinese capsule, because then you can send something from space to Earth using a CubeSat, as simple as CubeSat. So this is kind of a delivery system from Earth to space, which would be very interesting to see. And yeah, so this is what they're testing. Now moving on to the next one. So this is from the Libre Space Foundation, which is an open source space organization. So anything which they do is open source, everything is available on internet, and they have this GitHub also repository. So all those computer scientists out there, computer engineers, might be interested in their GitHub repo, do check that out. But for today they will be working on pocket cube dispenser. So this is a pocket cube dispenser which will have like which is capable of dispensing around 6 pocket cubes of around 5 into 5 into 5 centimeter length. And this is one of those two cubic 1 and cubic 2 satellites. Again, these satellites will do some amateur radio communications, some again some orbit determination communication, other satellite parameters, and all those things which are there. And then again, since it's an open source, so this thing is there on every CubeSat, which you can see. They're kind of a motto, manifesto, I must say that. And so yeah, there you go. Now next one, we have the MSAT. From the MSAT we have this Genesis G and J. So these two again are the pocket cubes, and these again will be used for this is a kind of very since it's from AMSAT, so it's again a kind of amateur non-profit radio amateur organization. And these two satellites will have a 2 megahertz CPU that will act as a low speed digital regenerative repeater to allow Morse code retransmissions between distance users. So it's kind of a retransmitter in space, and it can also emit beacons with several types of telemetry and 20 different Morse code messages with greetings in Spanish and English. So this is also kind of very cute little two satellites which has their own purpose from AMSAT. Now moving on to the next one, this is again from the FOSSA system. This most probably AMSAT, FOSSA system, and Libre Space. These all the satellites will be deployed by pocket cube dispensers developed by Libre Space, which I just showed you before. So there you go. This is also the FOSSA 1B. They are testing. This is 1B, not 1. So 1 also they tested. That was launched from Electron rocket, and they tested some new radio transmitter. Again, they have upgraded their system, and they are testing again some sort of communication system. So there you go, the pocket cubes, the FOSSA 1B. Now let's have a look at the non-technical payload. So other than all those things, we have a capsule filled with some non-technical things, such as there is a capsule filled with the artwork provided by Teachers in Space, Girl Scouts of Austin, and Joanna Ocampo. So this Joanna Ocampo, the Henry the Astronaut, is the author of the Henry the Astronaut children's book, and one of the copy will be flying today in the Firefly rocket. And Teachers in Space will send around 128 postcards to the orbit. The Girl Scouts of Austin will provide some space artwork that will go to space as well, and all those things is kind of a tribute as well as to raise awareness among students so that they can pursue their career in space. Now moving on to the mission profile, which we all are here for. So this is going to the payload capacity is 1.1 tons, but it is only carrying 35 kilograms for now, because this is a technology demonstrator one and they don't want to risk any customer here. So there you go. And the payload destination altitude 300 kilometer, but you see one thing, which is 137 degrees inclination, which is a retrograde orbit. So there is a normal prograde orbit, which is a normal orbit, which means launching from east coast, but today they will be launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base, which is in the west. So most of the time the launches from this space force is to the polar orbit, because it helps launching it from there. The geographic location is such that, but they are today launching at a retrograde, which means they need to first of all cancel all the Earth's velocity first of all, and then they need to provide the orbital velocity. So it's anything beyond 90 degrees will come into retrograde orbit, and they are going to a retrograde, therefore the payload capacity itself will decrease a lot. And then they are also testing it, so yeah, they need to have some wiggle room in place. So yep, 35 kilograms. So also one more thing which you need to know, that they have increased the thrust to around 8% more this time, because they are working with the fuel oxygen to fuel ratio of around 2.2, I guess, and previously that was 2.1 in the first flight, and now they are testing it to the limits. I won't say to the limits, but slowly and steadily pushing it to the limit. So this will again have some increased thrust, and then in the next flight most probably they will have 2.3 that fuel ratio, and that will again cause some increase of thrust. So yeah, there is that. And then this is the mission profile. Again, normal mission profile: stage separation, the first lift off, the stage separation, the second engine start, then the fairing separates, and the second engine start, seco 1 will happen, and again the second engine start 2 will happen, and the seco 2 will happen. So it's kind of more of like a SpaceX trajectory, which we can understand. A legacy of SpaceX is there, so why not this also? And yep, we have talked about everything. So there are certain photos of there you go, the artwork provided in the Firefly capsule here. The Pico bus, the dispenser, then we have the tech ed set from NASA, the teachers in space serenity, and yeah, so quite little certain gallery which you can see some cute little photos. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Yep, that's it. Now let's have a look at the live stream if we have any. Is it scrubbed? No. Let me just see. Please don't tell me it's scrubbed. Okay, launch update. The Firefly team working made the decision to scrub today's launch due to violation of wind constraint. Firefly has secured okay, September 19th and 20th on the range for the next launch attempt. Alpha stands ready to launch. Okay, all right, it is scrubbed. Wow. Okay. Turn up my microphone volume, Frederick. I think it is all right, I guess. Maybe you just need to turn up your volume because it's going good here. But okay, so it has been scrubbed already. Too bad. But let's have a look at the rocket views itself. Maybe that would help, kind of. So yeah, I am good, Monterio. How are you? Firefly scrubbed, which is not good, but yeah, that's how it is. So yeah, let me just update it here.
The delays and the scrubs that Artemis has experienced, as some people are, it really is normal with a new system to have some teething issues. And I know that, you know, SLS is not really a new system, but it still is. Literally, I know it has a lot of commonality with the space shuttle, but the things that they're having issues with is a lot of the things, the ground support systems, the things that are new, like literally connecting new umbilicals to the vehicle, because it has, you know, larger pipes, larger tanks, larger everything. It's all new. It's not like it's this totally just re-pieced together space shuttle. It just really isn't. So, yeah, they in my opinion, I just think this is pretty normal. We've seen, you know, teething pains. Anyone that's watched SpaceX's Starship, which is a developmental rocket as well, you know, you're familiar with scrubs. You're familiar with, you know, they tank it up, they realize there's a problem, they have to go back and fix it. That's pretty normal. You know, even here with Firefly's Alpha, you know, yesterday they saw an issue on the rocket that they didn't like. And that's the beauty of new space, and with a nimble company that can just
Same
go
here, Wildfly. Same here.
Next day's launch attempt already. So yeah, I have some grace for things like when the SLS scrubs, even though it's taken so long, and I know people are upset with the length of time and the budget and all that stuff, but it really is just how aerospace works. And a friendly reminder, most of the problems are because the rocket uses hydrogen. Hydrogen is very hard to work with. There's a reason that very few companies utilize hydrogen. So, yeah. So this is from Vog Launch wants to wants to ask: is the pointy end up and the flamey end down? That is something we can confirm. We can confirm. If honestly, if we stayed on air long enough, we'd likely see the teams take the rocket horizontal, which is just a shame here that we don't have that, or that we probably won't be live when that happens, because it goes down. They can take this rocket vertical and horizontally very quickly, very quickly. It's just so nimble and quick. You know, I was out here when this launch pad was for Delta 2, when Slick 2 was actually used for the Delta 2 rocket. And let me tell you, they used to have this rolling shed thing that would basically go out over the rocket, and then they'd roll it back, and it would take forever. I mean, it took like, I think it took 45 minutes or an hour to roll the huge, giant, you know, rocket covering thing back and forth. And here you just see this transporter vector just go, you know, in a couple minutes. Like, I missed it. I literally was not even looking at it for, a minute or two, and I looked back, I'm like, oh my God, the rocket's horizontal. It's crazy. So let's see here. Let's answer a few more. Yeah, so this is a great. So Ryan BK says retrograde is harder. So kudos to Firefly if successful. Absolutely. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of talk about the retrograde aspect also here from from Aditya Sony. If it's flying retrograde, doesn't that effectively mean it's at a negative velocity due to the Earth's rotation? That's exactly right. Yep. This is a good question here from Leo Capella. I don't know if we can pull this up. There is actually a Wikipedia article. Maybe I'll work on it, because again, what else are we doing right now? Orbital launches per year. There's a Wikipedia article that shows it. Timeline of space flight, I believe, is the Wikipedia article. Give me a second here, Andrew, and I'll get that pulled up, and then we can look at that. So it's something like, here we go. Yeah, we are clearly on track to be the most orbital launches in history. So I think actually, was last year the most already? I forget. I thought it was like tied, but it might have been the most last year already. So yeah, the question: what's the record for orbital launches in a year? Let's see. It's successful 135 that year. I think that's the current record. And you can see the planned number is way beyond that. So, yeah. I mean, it's coming up to the point where there's a good chance that SpaceX, on their own next year, might come close to breaking the record for number of orbital launches out of a single company. But now that we got so many companies launching, too, it's just, this is like a curve that I don't think many people predicted seeing happen, just going crazy on the number of orbital launches. Pretty fun time to be a spaceflight fan, because there's never a dull moment. So, yeah. I like this question here. This is from Blame Techie, who is at 26 months of membership. Thank you so much for your support. That really means a lot. But saying, if you do a 1/100 Firefly model, which, Firefly, we got to talk. I would love to make your rocket one of our next model rockets. That'd be so cool. Then we're going to need a 1/100 Luna as well, our locational uplinking networking asset van. That'd be pretty fun to do that. So that'd be really fun. Let's see here. So the reason for this, Paulo saying, overall, the cameras, it's not the cameras, it's just this camera. I'm under an orange tent, and we actually have a separate, totally separate sheet, muslin, that's trying to block all the light so I don't look like a pumpkin. But I am a pumpkin today. I got pretty burnt yesterday, and I'm also surrounded by orange. I guess that's what happens when, you know, branding over white balance, I guess, is exactly what happened. It's a me problem. Yeah. Let's see. I just want to read this one. This is fun. This is from Dorian saying, Tim, yeah, that's the orange tent. If you can't tell how orange it is, it's breaking our camera, basically, because it's so orange, the sensor's like, that's all there is. We've tried painting this camera up, and it's just, yeah, I don't even know. I'll fix it for next time. That's how orange the tent is, though, and you can see the
Nearest human. So actually, you know, kind of a design choice right now here, but talking about black, these kind of paint job, it's a design choice, but it's not a good one, because black absorbs as well as emits heat. You know, it's a black body, so it's absorb as well as emit heat equally, but it becomes kind of very hot because it's black. So that color is not useful in cryogenic fuels, but again it's kind of, it's not like staying there for quite a long time. So um it's all right, I guess. It's not much of an issue. So yeah, it's it's totally a design choice. Black one, it's not a thing which they have to do. Yeah, so yeah.
Cycle that they use on the Reaver and the Lightning engine here. We did a really deep dive here called, how do you power a rocket engine? It goes over all the cycle types. So obviously this is primarily a YouTube video, but our awesome website crew was able to make this into an article too, because I know that some people want to see stuff or even being able to search, being able to find a certain thing. Like if you remember something in your head, like I'm trying to remember what that one thing is, just be able to hit, Control F and find it on the page. It's always a useful asset as well. So as you can tell, this is a long, long article. And I wanted to get down to here. We'll show our what tap-off looks like. It's fuel-rich closed cycle. Then we get into full flow. I probably could have just used the navigations but I'm a silly boy and I just like to scroll. So here's what the tap-off cycle kind of looks like. So turbopump rocket engines that are fed high, in order to get high pressure into the combustion chamber, you need a pump. You need a pump to force that fuel and oxidizer into the combustion chamber. And so this rocket, like other turbopumps, so if you have a gas generator or a preburner that hits a turbine, and then that turbine is connected to a shaft, that shaft is then connected to your fuel pump and your oxidizer pump. And those force the propellants into the combustion chamber. Now, what the tap-off cycle, it's really interesting. Instead of having a separate, so a preburner and a gas generator is basically like a miniature rocket engine. It literally is its own form of rocket engine that you then point at the turbine you use that little rocket engine to generate pressure and heat, and then you send it through the turbine, and then that turbine gets spun up. It takes that pressure and that heat and turns it into kinetic energy. And so, and that's how turbines work. Again, in a turbocharger in a car, that's how that works. But with the tap-off, they literally, instead of having a separate thing, they actually just pretty much, more or less, put a hole in the side of the engine, and they had to force that. They allow some of that hot gas and high-pressure gas out of the engine, and they use that to power the turbine and to run the pumps. But the secret sauce is, you'll notice the main combustion chamber, in our example, this is a complete example. We have the main combustion chamber at something like, 1,400 degrees Celsius-ish. We made up some numbers. But what's crazy is the turbine can only handle something like, 150 degrees Celsius. So there's some secret sauce there that is some of the magic of these Reaver engines. I genuinely don't even know. I'm not giving you some I don't know what the intellectual property is and how they developed it, but somehow they were able to lower the temperature between the main combustion chamber and the turbine without even any additives, without having to make it more fuel rich by adding an extra fuel injector or anything. So, yeah. So that's pretty awesome, and it's a really simple, elegant solution. And I love that Firefly's been using this, because I've been waiting for a company to utilize the tap-off cycle. So, yeah. Let's see here. I just want to read this. Sure, we can talk about whatever we want. Here's a question from Moonman asking, Soviet N1 had a large number of engines and used to develop vibrations, which resulted in 4 explosions and 4 launch tests. Will Starship have the same fate? Let me remind you, my friends, the N1 had 30 engines. Starship's currently at 33 engines. But don't forget, the Falcon Heavy uses 27 engines. So it's not like the number of engines is not always indicative of failure. Just because the one that's in our head that has a lot of engines failed a lot, the N1, on all 4 tests, it really had nothing to do with the number of engines per se, but it had to do with the testing, the lack of testing, the lack of maturity of the engine, the fact that they couldn't even static fire. They didn't have the support system or way to take the first stage and test out all 30 engines together. And as a matter of fact, the NK-15 that actually flew on the N1 for the first couple missions had, or actually I think for all of them, they couldn't test fire each individual engine because they used pyrotechnics to open the valves. So instead of a hydraulic system or something to modulate the valves to run the engine, they literally used one-time use pyrotechnics. So once you fired the engine, you had to take it back apart basically to run it again. So the Soviets with the N-1 rocket didn't get that opportunity. So they literally had to put engines on. And the first time they ever fired those engines were when 29 other engines were firing along with it and the rocket was leaving the pad. As you can imagine, that's not a great way to have to test something for the first time, is while it's accelerating off the ground. It just seems like not opportune situations there. So the N1's failures really had more to do with that than it had to do with anything else. It wasn't to do with the number of engines. It really was simply due to those other restrictions. So hey, this is cool. Thank you, Taserface, for coming in here from the NASA spaceflight stream. I really appreciate that. And always fun to see our friends over at NASA Spaceflight. I hope I get to run into Jack and some of the people from NSF tonight. Since there was a scrub, maybe we'll have to be getting together and saying hi since they're in town as members of the press with pad cameras here. Because again, Firefly's been so awesome to work with. They are allowing media out there to the pad. So very, very cool. Harold Davis, thank you so much for your generous tip. I really, really appreciate that. It means a lot to me and the rest of us here. So, okay, interesting. I will update Chrome. We have people telling me to update Chrome. I will do that. Thank you very much for letting me know about that. I'm not paying any attention, so this is good to know. Harold Davis, thank you so much for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Let's see. This, I do happen to know. Dustin wants to know, do I happen to know any of the history about this particular launch pad? Yes, again, it used to be a Delta II launch pad, and I actually saw my first ever launch that I got to see, but mostly kind of hear, but mostly kind of saw not much because it was so foggy, was a Delta II launch. I did see CRS-3. I didn't actually get to catch the launch, but my camera did. I left my camera on the launch pad, and I literally had to go home. So CRS-3 was supposed to be my first launch ever, so I kind of still consider it my first launch. It's at least the first time to the pad, at least the first time for me to see all that stuff. But then in 2014, I got to see OCO2 out here in Vandenberg, and it was very, very foggy. We literally saw nothing, almost. But that was the first launch that I saw. So yeah, it used to be a Delta II pad. I don't remember if it was something before that. It likely was. It likely, would have been a Thor missile or something like that. Before it would have been a Delta II pad. But there's tons of history out here at Vandenberg that's so, so cool. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but right behind me, over my shoulder, if maybe we can pull up that ugly cam, the orange gross cam. Man, why is that so underexposed? But in the shadow there, you can maybe see a little bit of a NASA logo. That's because this building here used to actually was going to be housing the space shuttle. And the Space Shuttle Enterprise, actually, the glider version, the one that never actually flew to space, did end up in this hangar at one point. Allegedly, I feel like the vertical stabilizer would not fit through that, though. So I don't know how they would have done that. To me, that seems way too small for the big vertical stabilizer on the space shuttle. But anyway, they cut out part of the mountain to bring the space shuttle from the roadway, and then they even they took it into here, and then they stacked it out at Slick 6, which is where the Delta IV and Delta IV Heavy flies out of Vandenberg. And it's just an incredible launch site out there. So cool. Would have been so cool to see a space shuttle fly in the mountains of California, these beautiful hills. Those images, again, of the space shuttle. I actually have that still pulled up in my browser here. Yeah, check that out. It's still one of my favorite images, just seeing a space shuttle with the United States Air Force on the side of the building. When Andrew can for a second to pull that up, I just like that image so much that I'm making you pull it up. I just love that image. I'm sorry, I just think that's super cool. Yeah. Can you imagine what that would have looked like to see a space shuttle taking off just in mountains and hills? It's so sad. So that got canceled because of the Challenger disaster. They had to rethink a lot of the program, redo a lot of stuff, and redesign a lot of things. And unfortunately, the space shuttle never got the chance to fly on a polar orbit. No human has still ever flown on a polar orbit. But that could have been the second opportunity for the United States to launch from this exact launch pad to a polar orbit, and it got canceled. So, yeah. This is from Jeff. Thank you so much for gas money for the van. I really, really appreciate that. This is from David Taylor. This is a really good question. It's about this retrograde orbit we've been talking about. Why does Earth rotation direct affect the orbit of something in space? So to get into space, you have to gain a lot of horizontal velocity. You have to be going about 17,500 miles an hour, which is about 27,000 kilometers an hour, 28,000 kilometers an hour. So as the Earth also spins, it's something like 1,600-ish kilometers an hour, 1,000 miles an hour, something around there. So the Earth is spinning. Now imagine if you, had, say, a basketball spinning, and you had a BB on there, and you let go of that BB. Obviously, it's going to have some of that inertial, the rotation, some of the energy, kinetic energy, already going with that rotation. So it has some of the centripetal force rotation. I don't remember. Yeah, centrifugal. It's not one of the two options.
Centrifugal.
I don't remember. Angular momentum. How about that? It's got angular momentum for sure. Is that right? I don't remember.
Velocity,
tired.
just
That's just my excuse for everything these days. I don't know. I'm tired.
That's it.
So anyway, the Earth is the same way. The Earth is spinning. It spins, once every 24 hours, but it's spinning very fast. So if you go straight up and straight back down, you will be in the same spot relative to the Earth for the most part. But believe it or not, when you're trying to get into orbit, you're trying to speed up. You're trying to go really fast so that you go up first to get out of the atmosphere. The atmosphere slows a rocket down that's trying to get anything down. It slows cars down. It slows everything down. It's thick. It's soupy, and it compresses and becomes wind resistance and air resistance. So rockets go up to get out of the atmosphere, but pretty quickly they start actually flying over and doing what's called a gravity turn to start getting more and more horizontal velocity, because it's the horizontal velocity of a rocket that makes it stay in space. If you go up and you come back down like New Shepard, all you do is you come right back down, or gravity's going to pull you right back down. But if you go fast enough, your parabola actually ends up getting to the point where it misses the Earth entirely. So you have to go really, really, really fast. So obviously, if you take the Earth's rotation into account, you gain about 1,600 kilometers an hour. If you have to go against it, not only do you not gain that, but you also have to work against it. So it is much harder. You lose about half of your payload capability if you are flying retrograde, believe it or not. So, yeah. Let's see. This is from MHZUHF. Buy something stronger than a coffee to cope with the scrub. Have fun driving across the country. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Well, thank you so much from Cammy Moop. The past few streams have been really cool despite all the scrubs. How busy do you see this Luna being for the foreseeable future? So let me remind you again, I don't intend personally to always just be doing broadcasts like this. These are special missions for me. These are really extra special missions. I don't want to be driving coast to coast every week trying to figure out how am I going to do this stream, because I don't always love doing it. I just love doing it when it's something new and exciting. So this mission has been just incredible because we have the opportunity to set up cameras like this. And I mean, come on. We don't get this opportunity. It's so cool that Firefly has been allowing us to set up cameras like this and have their cameras on the pads, and it's incredible. So obviously I'm not going to say no to that, and I just love the people at Firefly. Ever since I started talking to them, and I got a tour there before I did the public tour with Tom Marcusic. I toured there early in 2021, I think, and I just fell in love with the company. I just thought it was so cool, and all the people I met with were awesome, and I got excited about what they're working on. So it's been really fun for me to be able to do this. This is a big honor for me. I mean, obviously, I'm hosting an official rocket launch. Just absurd. So I don't want to be doing Luna all over the country, back and forth and all that stuff. It just happens that literally there's so many things happening at once at this current moment in time. I mean, we have Firefly out here at Vandenberg. We have Artemis and SLS, the biggest rocket and most powerful rocket that NASA's ever flown, on the launch pad in Florida. That's something I don't want to miss. That's something I want to do the best job I can, especially when we learned that NASA was going to be providing 4K camera feeds. It takes a lot to be able to ingest 4K, and we have that on basically up to 8 channels now for NASA, and that's huge. That's just been, I mean, that's so cool. So Luna is really a means to an end, and frankly, we just had a lot of gear sitting there in Texas that wasn't being used. A lot of really nice gear. I mean, you saw the van tour, I'm sure. Hopefully, we have a lot of stuff. That's just been sitting there in Texas, and I don't want to go live for absolutely everything out at Starbase. I want to go live when Starbase is doing something really cool. So when Starship gets ready to do, 33-inch static fire, when they get ready for orbit, that's what we invested that gear in for, was that. But now we can utilize it when there's other exciting things like this rocket here on the pad today. Those are opportunities that I just didn't want to miss. So that's what Luna's for. Again, I hope I'm not constantly battling timelines and driving across the country stressing out, because that part's not that fun, but this part is super fun. And someday, I really think someday we'll actually catch a rocket launch with this van. Or with the new tracking mount. The new tracking mount has not seen a rocket launch either. That's insane to me. We have these really nice tracking mounts, robotic heads that are, you can see the one pointing up. That is a big, Ryan, can you go stand next to it real quick so people get a sense of scale? And I don't know if we can paint that camera up at all. I'm sure it's just, we don't have control. It is plugged back in, actually, by the way. Yeah, you can see how big all of it with the big 800
All right, again, thing happened and their live stream is
millimeter f5.6
Okay.
lenses,
Back.
and Ryan next to it. I mean, it's a large, beefy beast with Blackmagic with Blackmagic 12K camera on it, and we actually are shooting it in 8K at 120 frames a second. I mean, she's beefy. That's a big, and that mount itself weighs like 15 or 20 kilograms. It's heavy. It's big. That'd be 45 pounds ish. I don't know. Maybe I'm making up a number, but it's around there. It's big. They're big and heavy, and really awesome. So, yeah, we hopefully someday we can actually utilize those. We have 3 of those, and so far we haven't had a chance to use it once because the missions that we've taken it to have scrubbed. So, yeah, again, it's a shame that today's rocket didn't get to go off, but I am glad to know there are new dates on the timeline, so that's awesome. Harold Davis, let's see, this is, thank you very much, Harold. I meant to ask if you had any resources for businesses to learn what's needed to develop a launch site. Whoa, to develop a launch site, I don't know. I think you really have to work really closely with the government, honestly, is what, there's very few options in the United States. I'm pretty sure at this point, I'm guessing they're almost all entirely full. I don't know if there's too many more options for a launch site, honestly. I have no advice on that. I have zero experience really with anything professionally in the actual aerospace industry, but especially when it comes to a launch site, I really have no concept of that, unfortunately. So, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, this, believe it or not, Mike, this is not the reason for today's scrub. Any more wind and the canopy will run. I mean, believe it or not, that's not the reason for the scrub, but it could. I mean, right as you say that, I feel like the wind just picked up like crazy, and it's and we are getting a show of force on it. Yeah, that canopy is gonna. Hopefully, it just continues to stay strong. So, let's see. This is a good question from Michael. Sorry for mispronouncing. What job would I do after YouTube? I haven't told many people this outside of my close friends and family, but after YouTube, so I want to be doing this for the, when humans go back to the moon. I really want to be providing a live stream for that. I want to be part of that. I want to be part of that history, help sharing it as best I possibly can. That's how far I want to get before I get burnt out on this whole thing, which, the last couple years have been pushing that a little bit for me with some of the stress. But, I mean, I still love it, so I'm going to keep going, and that's my goal, is to be able to be, here covering this stuff when humans are walking on the moon again for the Artemis program. That's my goal. And then, when humans, maybe I'll have to come out of retirement when humans land on Mars. But for me, though, honestly, what I want to do next is, what was that, Andrew? He's got it. I probably want to become an architect or work on houses and build houses. I actually really love, I love interior design and layouts of houses, and I love architecture, and that's honestly probably something I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll try to blend the two and do interior design for Mars habitats or something like that. But not the interior design, but just the overall layout and the I just love it. I love it. It's a big passion of mine. That's actually one of the things that I watch in my free time is architecture videos. So yeah, that's probably what I'd like to do after YouTube. But maybe I'll make it a YouTube channel anyway or something. Who knows? Yeah, something that doesn't have crazy schedule conflicts all the time. But yeah, I think, guys, honestly, that's probably gonna do it for us. Honestly, I think we're gonna get out of here and start working on teardown. And yeah, I think we'll get the teams fed and rested for once, and work on getting out of here. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see a launch today, but the good news is we have a healthy rocket on the launch pad, and we have new dates on the calendar. Those are two things that you definitely hope for. So, and you even can see teams down there at the pad. So, yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see a launch today, but I'm so thankful that you guys tuned in here. And again, I'm so thankful to the teams at Firefly for entrusting us to do this. I'm thankful for all of you watching. I'm thankful for all the support and the super chats and the memberships and the Patreon support. Really means the world to me here and all of us trying to make this happen for you guys. So thank you so much for that opportunity. But I think I'm just going to sign out here. Anything else, Ryan, that you can think of? Andrew, anybody? Yep. All right. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So there you have it. We were okay, yeah. So there you had it, guys. We did not have a launch today, unfortunately, because of the issue of the weather. Let me just share the official tweet also with you, so that you can have a look at that. What went wrong and what not. So yes, come on, work. Okay, all right, so this is the thing. So launch update: the Firefly team made the decision to scrub today's launch due to violation of wind constraint. Firefly has secured 19th in September and 20th September on the range for the next launch attempt. So it will be like a week from now. So again, Monday and Tuesday would be the 2 days where they will be again attempting to launch. So today they had to stand down because of the weather. Yep, Noobda, this is launched due this is scrubbed due to weather. And yes, the wind speed, kind of the wind violations were there. So as you can see, the violation of wind constraints were there. So yeah, there you had it. But the next launch attempt is on next week from now. And talking about the next launch which we have, the Firefly had this one, then the next one is from China. Okay, so 7 right. So China is launching a payload from Long March 7A actually. Oh, well. Yep, I had to do some work for this one. So to in like 16 hours from now, China will be launching their rocket. Everything is secret about that. Not so sure whether we'll be having a launch stream or not, but I'll try my best. Then we have on 15th of September, Electron is going to the orbit. So there's that, and then after that, this Firefly will happen again. Also, the maiden flight of the RS-1, um, which is still there to be confirmed, but a test flight from, well, there's a new company, so their ABL Space Systems is coming in. And also, if I'm not wrong, yep, this is still a secret. I will not reveal it, but there is one Indian private space company. I won't say the name, but there is one Indian private space company which will attempt its technology demonstrator mission in next month. So there's that also, and I will be covering it extensively. So do join this channel for that, and in between you will get some videos and the things related to the Space Expo which I went. I also have like tweeted various things about it. Like, yep, I met her, Sandhya Ramesh, the editor of the print, the science editor of the print. Many other people, I'll also tweet about those things. So this is also like one of those parts which I found, one of many parts. This is the igniter of the solid fuel booster which ISRO uses. So there's that. The second stage for the SSLV and the third stage for the PSLV. This is how a igniter looks like. If you think, if you know, see this, there are certain holes in there. So igniter itself ignites first of all, and the flame comes out of this hole, and the flames coming out of these holes ignite the whole solid fuel booster. So this is how the solid fuel ignition works like. So I'll be posting a video. There is also a video left for the Human Spaceflight Expo Part 2, which will come. So don't worry about that also. There are certain things which are lagging, and I have too much work to do. So I'm still trying my best. And yes, this is also one thing which ISRO did, but they did not have a PR for that. They did not post it. So they literally, hosted this flag in space. So they literally, hosted this flag in space. This is the preamble, which you can say, of India, and they had this what do you say, this national anthem also, and then they hoisted the flag during the Independence Day. But they did not. I don't know what the hell is wrong with ISRO. They did not post these pictures, and they also had a national anthem which was played in space. Why, ISRO? Why? Why do you do this? You have certain events which are like this, but you still don't do these things. So, yep, there you go. Hi, Home Cinema. This is frustrating. Just came on your channel, very frustrating, but it is awesome having team. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much, Home Cinema. I will keep up the work. I'll certainly had to improve my um streaming quality, video quality. Still, like so much work to do, and I'm doing. It's like, when you are in a point of life where you have like so much work to do, but still you don't do anything because you don't know where to start. And it's like, when you start it, you will realize like it's too much, and then there's a fear of not starting it. It happens too much for me. So this is one of those days which is happening, but still I'll have to overcome and make sure I come out of it. And for today, there is one more thing which happened, which is this. So the new Shepherd launched today, but this is not a launch about demonstration mission. This was a normal proper launch which was supposed to happen, but the Blue Origin's New Shepard did a launch abort because there was some certain issue with the engine had a catastrophic failure, and because of that, here you can see the engine flashes, and then there's a failure, and then the launch abort system comes into place. So this was not a human system, a human rated booster, and no humans were going, so it was just a science payload. But still, you can see the launch escape system in action, in real world, in real scenario here, not a simulation or something like that. And yes, I tweeted about that also. So this happened today, and yes, I slept through it. This is how I work my day. So this is always the launch, the one launch which I miss because I'm feeling very tired. At that launch, only these kind of things. So yeah. Okay. So yep, this is in front of your home cinema. And I think that should be it. And I will be back in 16 hours or so, most probably with the Chinese launch. I'll have to make sure I get those sources right. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah. So I guess that will be it. So yeah, we'll meet again in 12, 16 hours from now. So until then, this is Piyanshu Royla. You just saw Rocket Gyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye bye.